Make sure that you have ELRS on your remote, like the TX16 Mark II or the Boxer or a module that you plugged into something else, and that you have a ELRS receiver wired up on your drone. Now this should be exactly like you do crossfire receivers like TX to RX and RX to TX, power to power and ground to ground. That's simple. You have these small antennas instead, and that's actually very helpful when building drones. They do just fit more places and getting destroyed less. Now you want to go into Betaflight, and under the ports tab you want to make sure that the serial RX is set for the UART that you are using when you are going here. This is just like any other receivers and stuff like that. Under receiver tab you want to make sure that it is set to crossfire. Even though we are using ELRS, this is what we should use. And make sure that telemetry is enabled. Now, if you don't have the ELRS configurator, you want to go and download that now. You can do this on this website right here, or I've also linked it down below. In the ELRS configurator, you want to select the version you want. Now, if you do not have any ELRS receivers or set up before, I would just go with the newest one. Under the target, you want to make sure that you select the one matching the gear you got. So if you, for instance, have a Happy model EP1, you want to select the Happy model 2.4 GHz, and you want to select the EP2400RX as the target. Log on first interval is selected, as well as auto Wi-Fi interval is enabled. For regulatory domain, if you want to comply with the rules in EU, you will select that. But if you don't really mind as much, you can select the other one. Note that the CE will force limitations on your system, but that is totally up to you. Now, the binding phrase is what tells the drone which signal to log with. This isn't a password, but I suggest you pick something unique so you don't bind other people's drones and you don't accidentally get your drone hijacked or something. Now you can choose the COM port of which you want to enable that. It is the same that you choose in Betaflight, but make sure you have Betaflight closed before you do this one. Now, after you select the right one, it's often STM electronics, but that will it. You'll hit build and flash, and you will wait for the configurator to build the file and of course flash it to your receiver. You need to do this process for all your receivers and transmitters and make sure they're on the same firmware. Now, every time you get a new drone, all you gotta do is flash the same firmware to the new receiver in the new drone and it will be good to go. Make sure the passphrases are the same on all devices and it will easily bind up. This will also work with multiple radios and stuff like that. So if you have more than one radio, you can just put the same bind phrase, and whatever radio is powered on, when the receiver is looking for a connection, it will just bind to that one. Now that you got ELRS on your drone, you want to go into the receiver tab again and make sure the sticks are corresponding. Now you can change this if it's not, but that will be another video. What system are you flying? Are you considering ELRS, or still Crossfire or Ghost or FrSky? And let me know in the comments below. And as a side note here, if you are experiencing any problems, breakdown, can't get connection or can't get it to build, try this approach. Wire up, most receivers has this little boot pad that you can solder up, so it will open up in bootloader. A receiver that is connected to a 5-volt pad only powers up with the LiPo. You want to unplug the USB. You want to unplug the LiPo, so it's totally powered down. Then you want to replug the USB so the flight controller powers up. Click Build and Flash in the ELRS configurator. It starts flashing as soon as it says path through done, plug in the LiPo, and the receiver lights up solid. That is done. Hopefully when it says success, you can just unplug the whole thing. You can desolder the boot pad, and then you can, well, if you want to move the receiver to a different pad again that powers up with the flight controller, you can do that, and everything should be fine. As always, get out and get flying.